Hello there. I am so glad that you're here tonight because one of my very favorite people is joining me tonight. And he's so smart and he's got such a background in ufology as far as researching it, trying to find real backing for people's claims, trying to use scientific, not trying, using scientific method to do his research. He is a founding member of the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies. I don't know if he's retired yet or not. We're going to ask him that when we get him in the studio because he just, for the longest time, he's just kept going. He's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. He is always positive. He is always very concise, which is a good thing. And he is somebody who became my friend over all these years of talking to each other. And I'm so blessed by that. But I want y'all to meet Rich Hoffman. Hello.
Hey, Kat, how are you? Good to see you and your buddy behind you there.
Again. I know, right? I'm ever hopeful. So somebody's got to be moving those things that they keep dropping in the emails. And
right. Well, it's always good to see you and be with you. I was looking forward to seeing you again talking.
Well, I just hate I can't come to Toronto. That's going to be one of the best conferences ever because, you've got such good speakers and getting to see the people that I, do know and get a chance to say something to. And I love Micah.
Yeah,
I started reading his books, believe it or not, aside from his other things. He's a writer and his books were just so fun. And I was like, when's the next one coming out? I'm getting ahead of you. You got to get it going, dude. But he really is. He's a very fun, very intelligent, very serious young man when he needs to be. And like you, a lot of fun when he doesn't.
I'm so glad that he's hosting again. I mean, he's been hosting us for the last several years and stuff like that. I used to do it before that, but I'm glad he took over the reins on that because I had too many other things that I had to work with in running the conference. But this year, I'm not running it. I'm just supporting it and stuff like that. I'm not going to be up there myself. I'm going to actually be back in the background watching and making sure that things go well for the online people. And Robert's going to pick up the helm in terms of, being the conference lead for up there. He's doing a bang up job. And there's a lot of things that we're trying to get, going. We've only got, we're just about at a month away from July 24th through the 26th. And so there's a lot of things that are happening and happening at the last minute just to get things ready. But I'm excited. There's like 20 presenters. So, I mean, that's pretty incredible number of people. We've got, everybody from Chris Mellon to a lot of the people that are on even the SCU that are going to be there. It's a worldwide group of people, actually. There's people from all over the place that are coming and doing a presentation. So, and the focus on this one is kind of interesting. It's like, what's the role of the study of UAPs in relationship to science and government, and how do you get them to work cooperatively together? And so it's tackling a very challenging subject, if you would. And of course, the fact that we're holding it in Canada, it's going to help the Canadians as well to be able to get attention to this and stuff like that. So we're also very excited about the fact that we're having it up in Toronto.
What is their government's outlook on this?
Well, they're actually, in fact, we had meetings. I know that with some of their government people about this, because they had heard that there was this project that the United States government had, right? And so they were curious about, should we have something, and how do we work with them, and that type of thing. And so we encouraged and supported them to get involved, and I think for the most part they are involved. They're actually getting pretty engaged in the topic, a lot more than some other countries on the planet that aren't yet not on board with it. Yeah. But I would say that they're doing quite well. It's interesting that the UK has been lagging behind in that, and that yet they had that project early on, and of course Nick Pope was doing that, and but they kind of like have backed off, and they're not really doing anything pretty much with it. We're hoping that changes as well.
I would think that because I do know, and I have spoken with Rendlesham investigators and experiencers, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I do know that the government there is well aware of activity that's happened on their turf, as it were.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They're very aware of it, but it's whether they actually will stand up a project or stand up a team again and stuff like that we're encouraging, and actually, engaging their military to be able to cooperatively, send in videos, and we just don't see that. They're not doing that after they got out of it with, when of course Nick Pope left and stuff like that, but they wrote their report and they finished it.
That just seems to be so short-sighted.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. It's like look at us. We finally are getting traction in our political sphere. And so 2017 and the announcements that happened then have slowly opened up the doors to where you're starting to now get politicians willing to talk about it and also becoming educated in it. And and so it's a transitional process that requires a little bit of education. Many people, don't have an SCU organization or a scientific organization that can help feed them in good information and that type of stuff in these countries. And so they may have, just groups that get together and they talk about paranormal and everything else, but they're not focused on UFOs. And so until you get that I guess that attention that it is a scientific matter that ought to be addressed scientifically, and then you start to see some of the doors open up, even because there's still the stigma in many other countries, even with science, and they discourage scientists from studying it. So you have that factor still in play in many other countries. I know that when I went over with Ryan Graves we went over and we represented the United States for a NATO meeting in Bologna, Italy, that when we brought up the subject, it was like, okay, well, we're kind of not there with it and everything else. And it's like, so many small countries over there don't even think about UFOs. I mean, they don't even get into the topic at all, or UAP at all. So it's going to be a while, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of them are waiting for the United States to make a statement. Did you know that?
Well, actually, I did know that. And if that's what they're waiting for, I think they're fixing to get it. I think they've already got some of it because, I was, because, I am science-based, but I also have a bit of I'll go off the reservation a little bit, maybe a little bit, but I went to, was it 2 years ago? I was at the Scottish Paranormal and UFO Conference. Mm-hmm. And it was so small and so awesome because one of my friends was presenting on the paranormal side. Malcolm was the guy on the UFO side, and they had a witch that was there doing another side. And I was just kind of like, this is quite varied. This is very varied. But it was so small.
Yeah.
And it was at the University of Glasgow. And it was interesting because I've been to probably all of our big conferences in the US. And I was not expecting that scenario because it was in what would be the student union here and outside of the cafeteria of it. And there was a small stage out there. And it was interesting because that was my first time meeting Malcolm anyway. But it was, I mean, I was surprised Philip Mantle could have come too. I mean, he's within a train ride.
Right.
And there's so many people that could have, that are there, you know. And I don't know if Philip's traveling anymore, but.
Yeah, I heard he wasn't feeling too well or something like that. There was some maybe health issues or something.
He's been having that for a little while now. But he's just such a nice man. I'm sorry, that's an aside, but he is a very nice man too. He befriended me years ago and started sending me their UFO people and some other, you know. And it's really interesting because there's so many people I want to ask what they think about these files being released. And I'm not even sure they're seeing them yet.
Well, that's very true. I mean, there's a good number of people that are not even aware of these things or don't even really care that they're out there. I would honestly tell you that the vast majority of my family has never really spent any time looking at the first video or anything of that, you know. And so, and I've got a lot of friends that don't bother to look at it. So, I mean, it's not, you know, if people are in fact, I'll get asked, you say, well, what do you think of that? I heard that they were out there. I've not seen any of them, you know, so they're asking me, you know, but they're not taking a look themselves. And so, you know, yet you have all of us who are just drooling for some of this information to come out that are just going ape crazy and looking at everything we can and hoping we'd find that little needle in a haystack and that type of thing. And it would open the doors or it would help to help us out in some respects. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I've looked at the data and the trenches that were coming out and I'm disappointed in many respects. I think a lot of this, it's almost like, you know, clean out your drawers and let's just take anything that says the word UFO and throw it up on a site and there it is, right? And I can say I declared victory that I have been the wonderful person that's released all the files, right? You know, there's old stuff that we already knew that they're just repeating. There's you know, and we're not getting anything from that, really anything new from that. And if you look at even like, you know, the videos that they're throwing up there like left and right, they don't give you any data that you can work with. In fact, initially they weren't giving date. They weren't giving you, you know, they're not going to give you a location if it's military, right? So they're not going to give you that. They're not going to, you know, you can't look at the time of day. You can't look at a whole lot of other details like, okay, well, what kind of a camera was used to take and film this? What was the specific craft that it's, and so you can't do any analysis of that. And then they block out all the wonderful metadata that could help you understand that. And you know, it's just worthless. I'm saying
and that's what's so frustrating.
Scientifically, it's worthless. And so we're saying you need, if you're going to really do this and want to declare transparency, then you need a little bit more upright and giving a little details. And you know, there are scientists out there that are willing to help them look at these videos, and I don't even think they're even getting to analyze all of them. There are some of them that are absolutely would be incredible if we had the data that we could look at and help them to understand what it is. And so we're trying to be able to break through that door and work with Arrow to be able to get them to share with us. And we're making some progress with that association to do that. But it's just a very difficult and challenging time. But again, it doesn't give the public, and they're telling the public, you make up your decisions now. You go and look at it. Well, they're all going to look at it and say, well, it's just a dot moving on a screen. I don't know when it was, where it was. And they're going to do the same thing, right? So I'm sorry, but I'm just kind of disappointed, you know, and that's just me hoping that we're going to get transparency true transparency, and we can actually get to something of value.
As a civilian person that is an experiencer, I have seen these, and it's just so, I'm not like an abductee, to my knowledge, but it is interesting because, I've had a couple of shows where they were dropping them and I was picking them up, and just the ones that I thought you could ascertain that there was real movement. It was consistent movement. It wasn't like a fly moving, and, I'll put them up, and I've done at least two shows, right, Carl, on the stuff being dropped. And it's been some of it. In fact, Carl pulled up the one that was in Iraq that was not in the things that were dropped that Jeremy shows all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, the jellyfish, that one to me is just bizarre. I don't think that's anything.
That's
not a craft.
I think that a lot of us believe that that's nothing more than bird droppings on the camera lens to be able to see that. Okay. And so, and that happens, by the way. You can have bird droppings from aircraft sitting on the ground, and anyway, but it's absolutely nothing like anything that we've ever had throughout history of UFO phenomena. So, I mean,
it's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
I mean,
but
that's what they showed in Congress.
I know.
They took that to Congress. Congress should be able to see, they should not have to rely on Jeremy and George to bring their show to town to put this stuff out.
No,
they're congressmen. And
the videos we analyze them to death for 2 years before we would come out and announce that here's something you ought to look at, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to embarrass the Congress or anything like that. And politicians don't like to be embarrassed either. But if you came out and you showed that and you found that it was bird poop on a camera lens, I mean, does that help you scientifically? Does that help you as a politician? And the answer is no. So, if a congressman wants to be able to stand up and have a video, it should be analyzed to death before you show it. And I wouldn't be making any kind of claims about it, at all. But that's not what's happening. They come in with Jeremy and them giving them these videos, and they just get it, and bingo, it's up, and everybody's seeing it, and that's just not what you want to do. That is the reverse of everything that MUFON stands for. Where I was with that, you investigate it first, and then you come up with your conclusion, and then you say what it is and do that. Okay, so I mean, that's just common sense.
Scientific method matters.
It does. And I mean, and I know that there are a lot of things that people see in the sky that get misidentified. And if you haven't really done the due justice of ruling them out, then you're doing a disservice to the entire UFO community and field.
Well, to humanity.
Well, and humanity.
At this point. Because
I mean, I hear you.
I have a question for you, though.
Go ahead.
Well, the Gemini tape, the NASA tape, that's the audio.
Yeah.
And the
going
pilots.
Back to the early days. Yep.
And, I'm sorry, I find it hilarious at one point because, the pilot's just cruising along in space, right?
Yeah.
And, his radio transmission comes in, I have a bogey. And the operator's voice goes, "Did you say you have a bogey?" I mean, and that to me is probably the closest thing to, that probably was, because this guy didn't know what was going to be out there when he got out there in the place. And, then you've got the heat from the craft that's doing things, I'm sure, to the environment that he's going through. And so, but there is stuff happening. There is a change. that's affecting his environment that hasn't happened that we know of before. And then he's got what he judges to be a craft or something that is unexpected. But the guy's voice that responds to him was great. I mean, did you have a bogey? And that to me was probably the tape that I thought, that's the one that caught my eye or my ear, because those people didn't go up there expecting to find anything else moving that wasn't astrological. You know, they went up there to test their craft, right?
Yeah.
To see if they could survive up there.
One of the things that we've learned about space is in these space missions is that, number one, space is dirty.
Yes.
It's very dirty. In fact, my concern is that we're going to continue to have micrometeors that are going to be piercing, different kinds of equipment and stuff like that, causing problems. But space is dirty.
When you say micro what?
Microparticles or micro cosmic rays or that type of thing. But you have space is just a dirty, very dirty environment. And if even most of the meteors that we have that are pelting the Earth and stuff like that each night and stuff like that are dirt. That's basically coming through and being pulled into our atmosphere and stuff like that. And we see them as shooting stars. So the bottom line is that space is dirty. And the other thing that I'm going to mention to you is that sometimes the craft itself is leaking and it turns into ice particles. And so they have ice particles that are moving around outside of their space capsule. And they're not used to seeing something like that. They assume that space is, going to be dark or black. And, and then like you see in some of the videos with NASA is that you have a thruster that engages and suddenly the ice particle that was moving this way is now moving that way, right? And you're saying like, wow, what was that? Then you have to understand that they're also looking through plate glass that's very, very thick to be able to be a good shield. And they also get interior reflections. And so a lot of the videos I see from NASA and these kinds of discussions are that they're seeing these kinds of like natural particles that are up there. They're seeing ice particles. They're seeing, they might even see another satellite, off in a distance, which is a big concern. And then now we add to it space debris, and space debris from, has now become a big time problem, and it's continuing. It's going to get worse as we have more collisions or anything like that of our spacecraft. And the more we keep sending up, these spacecraft and satellites and various other things, again, the more debris that's going to be up there. So, to be honest with you, I haven't seen a whole lot that, to me, other than just somebody saying that they saw a bogey. If I had evidence that there was like something there, or I could somehow analyze it to find out if there was something natural or not natural, then, that would be better than just me saying, hi, I saw a UFO last night or whatever. And that's
just, you got to have something to go with that.
And so again, anecdotal testimony is not going to help us out. I saw something last night is not going to work. You need to have more evidence or proof or something to go along with the fact that you did see something last night. And we need it, a lot better than what we're getting in terms of blurry photographs. And so, that's where, again, we've got to make improvements in our data collection methods and the tools that are out there in the world right now that we're encouraging people to use and that are being developed, by the way, for UFO tracking and detection. We're hoping that that's going to help give us some serious solid answers. And it's going to help us to discriminate from the things that are known so that we can find the unknowns that are out there.
Is there anything besides, we need to talk more about what's being developed to do that? Because that sounds exciting.
Yeah. Well, in January 7th, 8th, I think, was it January or February? Anyway, I think it was in February now, come to think of it. We had a technology summit that I helped host with the Human Institute. And we had something like 34 presenters, and we talked everything was about technology and the use of technology and what's being developed and being deployed. You have the Tedesco brothers who have a probably $2 million vehicle that's equipped with all the incredible, well integrated kinds of technology, and that goes out and they deploy it. Now they've even got a boat. You have Sky 360, which is over in Europe, and they've got 360 units that are now looking up in the sky and tracking things. You have the UDAP, UFODAP that Ron Olsch put together. That's also got a population of these things that are out there that are doing. So we're looking at everything from passive radar to looking at the objects in different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. We're going to measure any signals, radiation, anything that's coming off of them. And so we're putting science on target with now elaborate equipment that's going to give scientists that want to have data to look at. And until Aero and them really truly look at how they're going to do that approach with a government, we're going to make up for it because we need to, because we want to get answers, and you're not going to get answers by just, again, anecdotal testimony. I saw a UFO last night. It's not going to get us anywhere. Blurry photographs that you take with a camera and motion tracking, and it's not going to work. And we want to see what they look like in infrared. We want to see what they look like in ultraviolet light. We want to see what they look in gamma radiation and detect that. And so that's what's going to give us some great information.
Well, that's what it's all about. Because if you have, that's what it's about. Well, yeah, I mean, is that the same UAP DAP that Chris O'Brien developed?
I don't know about the relationship with Chris O'Brien. No, I don't think that it is. I think this was Ron Olsch who developed the UFO DAP. I think that you might be thinking of maybe Madar. No, it was a DAP also. Anyway, I don't know.
I just didn't know.
Yeah. So bottom line is we've got now we have the cameras have developed to the point where they can actually now, like maybe even as much as 1,000 frames a second, you can actually send something. So now you can actually see that instantaneous takeoff of that object going at hypersonic velocity or something like that. And you'd be able to see all the images when you take a look at each frame of that movie.
The only thing that I've seen and the only craft that I perceived as I had an up close and personal view of it. So it was like so weird. Have I told you about that?
Yes, you did. Yes.
I thought so. Incredible. But what really got me was the fact that it was so slow. It was like meandering.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting, well, it was meandering as it approached me. And I was on the phone with someone and was like, don't hang up because I don't know what this is. And I don't want a lost time incident. So don't hang up. And if I'm not here, still don't hang up. But get somebody else's phone and call your dad. But it was just one of those moments in time that I knew that wasn't anything that I'd ever seen before, but it did look like a pie tin, but it was in a green cloud, like a storm cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have seen that. And I know I wasn't asleep. I was laying in a hammock on the phone with my daughter. And that's why I was like, do not hang up, because I'm not moving. But, and it just went by and it came out of the cloud and went back in. So, and then and I kept thinking when it was coming out of the cloud, oh my God, I'm going to see somebody, and there was no window where there should have been a window. It was just still metal. And I thought, well, surely they've got the little, no, nothing like that happened. It was so bummer. But so I did have an experience with seeing something. And it was low. It was low. So
let me ask you something, Kat. Let me ask you something. Did you have a camera?
No. I was sitting in the hand.
This is what happens to so many people. It's like it comes out of the blue. It's there in front of you, and they don't have a camera with them, or they don't even think about the camera that they've got maybe in their pocket. And so we don't really get good close-ups of a lot of these things because people are just in shock and paralyzed by what they're seeing, and they don't even think about getting out that camera where you have a close-up shot of an object that's directly.
And that would have been.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just coming right behind my gazebo, down in the yard, and I was above the gazebo.
There's so many missed opportunities.
And thought it was a storm cloud.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's what makes me so frustrated because, we walk around with these, $2,000 pieces of equipment in our pocket, and you don't think.
Yeah.
You just when I see things, I'm much faster to pull it out now.
Sure.
But and it was so frustrating because it was middle of the afternoon. There's nobody else on my street home except for the old people in the house next door to me, and they never go outside at that point. But
so a couple weeks ago, I pulled into a gas station. It was a nice clear day, and I was like looking up, and I saw this like cluster of what maybe like look round things that were moving across the sky, and I'm going like, now what is that? And it no aircraft or nothing like that. It was just a round cluster of things, and it had some sort of like dangling thing, and I was like, what is that? And it was moving at a fairly good clip, across the sky. And I got my camera out. I took a video of it, and I followed it. I took several shots. I zoomed in on it and stuff like that. And just out of curiosity, I posted it up on my Facebook page. And a lot of people said, I said, well, what do you think that this is? Of course, I had deduced already what it was. It was the day that graduations were going on at the high school, and they released the graduation balloons. And the wind was just such that it was moving along at a really good clip. But, again, going back to the fact that many of the people that were around me, they didn't see it. I was the one that was like looking up because I'm the idiot always looking up. Right. I want to see one. And so here's this set of balloons that are clustered together and stuff like that are going across the sky. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Why don't we have that kind of clarity with all the UFO sightings or whatever like that? And, and again, it goes back to, maybe they don't have a newer camera, or, they don't have that camera with them or something of that nature.
Well, my Nikon was in the house. And I didn't want to go in because I wanted to watch it. But
yeah, exactly.
And trying to get that thing out of where I keep it would have taken forever. So
it's really funny when you read actually the reports from people, and I did this in MUFON. We had to look at all the reports to see if we could come up with the best cases each year. And so I'd be reading the reports. They all kind of started out the same way. And, well, I walked out to take the dog out and to smoke a cigarette.
Yes, dog walkers and cigarette smokers.
They all said the same kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, well, okay, but again, it's like I was walking outside, it's dark, and of course at nighttime, a light moving on a dark background is easily seen, where a dark object on a light background during the day is not as easily seen. We have aircraft flying over that nobody even sees or pays attention to. But boy, at night, you could say, well, what is that thing moving across? So that light moving there. So most of our reports tend to be more like at night and stuff like that, which then doesn't help us out with their cameras. Because their cameras it's too dark. and then it becomes a little dot of a light moving across this the screen. And then, we're not also good about holding the camera still. So it's moving around and jostling it and doing all kinds of stuff. And you're following this dot on a screen, and it's like,
well, especially if they're excited, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's a problem. And then it's out of focus. They focus on it and they try to, and it's out of focus or something like that. And, and then they see this, when it's out of focus, they say, oh, look, it changed into like an orb. No, it's because it's out of focus.
Yes.
Anyway, so we just don't have that camera equipment is not really going to even help us that much. It's that we need to get into these more precise and better tools, better cameras, better sensing devices that can actually detect these things and to throw everything at it.
Yes.
The ideal situation would be if we had what we call a nuclear honeypot out there. Just set an area and have a nuclear device sitting out there, and then have the entire perimeter filled with all the sensors and cameras in the world, because that they have a connection and interest in nuclear. So guess what? Just wait for one to come there and then film the heck out of it.
Then you've got it.
Exactly. Create the honeypot. And so.
Well, you could just stick them up there at Minot.
Yeah.
Outside the fence.
Yeah. Well, and you can go maybe on some of these areas where they're conducting the Navy missions and their exercises, because it's also popping up out there. So again, I think we just
popping up a lot with the Navy.
Yeah. So just equip yourself to death, and go out there and figure out what it is, with all those sensors and you can come up with, all the cameras you can come up with. Catch this thing in any kind of way you can, and then share it.
Be rich and famous and retire.
Yeah.
Forever.
And by the way, I am retired. So
just to let you know,
you were asking about that.
Yes.
I retired last year at the end of September. I decided to hang up the Army IT world stuff and to focus on retirement, travel, and everything else. So that's what we do.
Well, I love when you travel. I go vicariously with y'all. And it's fun because, you are, you go to Germany like I go to Scotland, right? You're going to a place you like, you're going to go.
Right.
But you just have so many adventures and y'all are both so much fun. And
thank you.
I just love how y'all love each other after all this time, and you just go and just want to spend all your time together, and it's just so nice.
Thank you.
Everybody hopes to find that. I'm lucky that I did, but it's hard to do it. Yep. And I think it's beautiful how y'all do that. Just saying.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Well, next year we're going to go to Spain for a wedding in Madrid, and then we're going to go up to France and go to Paris, and we're going to do a Bordeaux cruise on the Viking, and then come back to Paris. And so you'll have a lot of photos you can look at on Facebook.
I will love that. My dad loved Provence.
Yeah,
so
beautiful area.
That's where they would go. And I'm going to slide this into this little slot right here because I just noticed that I don't want to lose you at any point. Of course, it would be nice if I could see the slot, but I just think that I live for y'all strips. I do. I sit there and I'm like, oh, where are they now? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And and it doesn't always pop up right when y'all start. So I'll get to catch up because I'm not online as much as I used to be.
Okay.
Which is okay. It's a good thing. Well, tell me about your travels to Toronto, because there's more than one venue for this year, aren't there?
So what we're doing is we're having we're using two hotels. The Windsor Arm Hotel on Friday night is going to be for the dinner and the keynote, and that's with Christopher Mellon. He'll be presenting his address and helping to open up the conference in terms of again, the role of science, the role of government, and everything else in terms of studying a UAP. So he's an excellent presenter to open up the whole thing. And then we're going to move over to the Marriott at Eaton Center for the next 2 days for the conference and stuff like that. So, and that we have also, we're doing a little bit different, where we're going to have to get more speakers and more things through. We've got these things called lightning rounds, and I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
So we're going to have a number of sessions that are going to be lightning rounds, where you're going to have like very little 15-minute kind of like, or whatever kind of presentations on different topics. And so we'll be able to even get more, covered in terms of things that are going on. And so we got several of those, and we got of course our networking session that we do with people online, and in the place itself. And then we have panels, which we're going to be talking about, and and a lot of different things. Again, the role of government, we'll be talking about with a panel, and wanting to see what they have to say, and to get their ideas on this. You have Doug Bittner is going to go. He's been going through and reanalyzing the Aguadilla video, which we're excited about, because we want to hear. We're trying to get, like, you had a situation where we came out with, we didn't know what the heck the object was. It was just very odd that it looks like it's going in the water and then coming out of the water and everything. And then you have Arrow that came out and said, well, that's thermal crossover, and we don't necessarily accept that that's the explanation for it. And so he's going to do justice to be able to help look at it and then talk about what he found on that. But we also have, a number of other people are talking. Oh, I didn't know. We talked about, countries that were coming online. Japan is now coming online with actual official study. I didn't know if you knew that or not. So
no,
now Japan is actually launching a legitimate study of the subject of UAP. So we're also very excited about that.
That is exciting.
Yeah. So all good things. The topics we're going to be covering every aspect of this phenomenon practically. I mean, it's just going to be incredible to watch and to hear from these people. Steve Brule is going to be again talking about the. I don't know if you know Beatrice Villarreal, but she's the Swedish astronomer that published papers recently about these things called transients that they were finding in plates, old plates from basically out in, I think it was like the Pan stars plates, and those are from, again, astronomy plates that were back in the early days. And she found these things called transients, which you'll take a look at a star pattern or something like that, and here's a dot that doesn't belong there. What is that dot? And these are pre-Sputnik days. So it's not like satellites.
Oh.
Not like anything that you can think of, but yet in these photographic plates, you're seeing lots of objects that are up there that are reflecting light, or maybe emitting light, we don't know. But ultimately, they are showing up in these things, and they don't belong there. And then you look at, the next plate, and it's the object is not there. And you took the, so it's like, there's been a number of scientific papers that they've been putting together, and Steve's going to be talking about, again, that aspect of what he's been doing. And so we're, again, a lot of different conversations about different aspects of this phenomena that it's going to be a great conference. I encourage people to get signed up for it.
This is going to be a great conference. The video aspect, the coming in to the conference, via technology.
Yeah.
I've had to do that, and it's a great way to get the information.
Sure.
And you can make friends while you're in those chats. And
yeah.
Are you going to be using the same programs?
Yeah, we're using the Whova tool, which Whova is really one of the leading conference tools out there. So it's not like you're sitting on a Zoom call. You're actually out there engaging people and You're having a lot of networking kinds of things you can do, and you're connecting with people, sharing my photographs with somebody else, and so it's very much a networking kind of thing, and it's a great tool. So we've continued to use that tool for the conference.
Well, I just hate that that's going to be how I'm doing this one, but it is. And I'm going to tell you, if I can figure that out, you can figure that out because it is the information that you can glean from the people that are in the chats watching this lecture with you,
yep,
as well as the information being presented. It's just amazing. And the groups are so diverse that you never know who's going to be watching with you. And I think that's fun. Because
the questions are also very, very good.
Yes, they are.
The audience questions we get are just like, wow, these are some incredible, deep thinking kinds of things. And so, let's have that too. So again, it's going to be, we get a really good audience of really exceptionally good people. And it's just, a lot of people have been raving about this conference for a long time, and we're just wanting to keep that going, and making it the best we can, and see if we can continue to improve on it. So that's why we moving it to Toronto is, is like, wow, that's a major city, international city, and and so that's really good. We're excited.
Well, I'm just glad it's not in New York. So,
yeah.
I mean, I love New York. I love New York.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like it so much right this red hot minute.
Yeah.
The crime has gotten a little bit strong.
And no, I hear you.
Even in Midtown. So it's I think Toronto, the first time I went there I was in 7th grade going into 8th grade. And my dad took me, he had a conference and I just got to kind of roam the city. He showed me how to first, where to go. But it was just so beautiful and clean and just truly an international city. And that's when the Vietnamese boat people were coming over. And
oh, sure.
So I got to meet a bunch of those people just in town because we were right across from the city hall. And it was just cool. That's a great city to host something like what you're bringing.
Yep.
Beautiful, clean, good people. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and good facilities. Great facilities.
Yep.
So, well, what does this is going to sound weird. I have never heard Chris Mellon speak as far as presenting information. I've seen him on television. I have heard him. He was discussing the security aspects, but I didn't get, to get in a position to ask questions or anything like that. And I caught the tail end. But other than being a huge advocate for getting this information out, what is your favorite part about what he's going to be bringing to this?
Well, I think that, number one, he's already played in the government. So number one, he's got that understanding. And he's probably been, and he's worked into, he was a deputy assistant secretary for defense for intelligence. I'm sure that some of those things are engaging, even, the Canadian government and stuff like that. He, was excited about even being able to go to Toronto and stuff like that. I think it seemed like he has a relationship with somebody up there or something. I don't really understand it, but anyway. But so I think, for somebody as prestigious as him to be coming in very level-headed, to being able to talk about the phenomena, it's going to help set the tone for the conference in the context of encouraging the government of Canada to continue to pursue it and get engaged. We've got the Canadian Broadcasting Company that's actually going to be coming and filming and stuff like that to help get the word out. So what I'm seeing is that the fact that he can, it's like breaking the ice and breaking it open, and it'll be very, very instrumental for us to be able to help them, encourage them along in the Canadian government to do something with the topic. Chris Rutkowski, I don't know if you know Chris or not, but Chris is going to be one of those speakers. And I've been for years pushing for him to speak, and he'll be able to speak to the Canadian reports that come in, because he's been doing a great job of collecting all those reports and getting that back out in his annual report that he typically does. So I'm excited about the fact that Chris is going to be speaking as well. And I'm just glad that we're going to be able to now get to talk to a lot of there's a lot of different kinds of splits in terms, like you pointed out in Glasgow, in terms of the understanding of the UFO. There's not a solidified group. I mean, there is a MUFON representative there. You have Chris that's doing something, but there's no overarching SCU up there. And so maybe this might be a spearhead to being able to get some sort of a formal scientific group that can be put together to be able to help with that. So that's why we're hopeful for that.
Well, I'm hopeful for that too, because there's a lot of activity there. Yeah. I mean, and people, they're very different people. They just kind of take it for granted because that's their outlook on just about everything.
Yeah, and without a doubt. Yep.
So I don't know if and there's so much open space. There's so much dark sky.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yep. There's a lot of sky.
So it's a great place to, if there is going to be something, that would be a great place to see it. Sure. I mean, you would be able to be aware of it better. And, there needs to be more SCUs, right? I mean, I know that the speaker and the membership and the researchers are international.
Sure.
And that's one of the best things about SCU is the diversity of experiences and thought and, disciplines. And it's part of what makes it such an excellent organization. But it needs to be replicated. It needs to be like chapters in different places. It's
you're absolutely spot on, right? And again, that's where we're trying to be able to grow that kind of thing in other countries. We have a Latin American advisor that is connecting some of the dots and people up in different Latin American countries. We have an advisor for Europe in UK. And he's helping getting us connected to different countries over in Europe. And so if we can expand this out to where we're actually doing this kind of thing in other countries as well, then it's going to just only help us, and it's going to help them focus with their politicians and getting them on target to being able to help feed the information. This is a global phenomenon.
It is.
And there's no reason why we haven't got global traction in terms of, reports, studies, and everything else. And so let's make that happen. And that's where we want to go.
I would never bet against you. So, or anyone that's involved in this. The reputation of SCU is so strong. It's not just the conferences, the public face, or whatever, but the science side, the people that are doing the technical work. When the young woman that was, I can't remember her name, she was very nervous. She was doing her presentation from her apartment. She was very young. And
was that the previous conference that you were talking about, or what?
It was, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay, we had the lady maybe from 3. Israel that was.
She wasn't Israeli, I don't think.
Okay.
She may have been. I may be wrong. I've been wrong a time or two. But so
we also have Laura Domine. Domine is she was talking about Project Galileo, the Galileo project that Is that it? Yeah.
I love
Laura
her.
is a young gal that she's now actually moved and left the United States, and she's over actually in Japan. So she's helping us on those connections with Japan.
That's excellent.
Yeah, but she's still helping out with, I guess, the Galileo project. I believe that she's doing that. And she's also, you know, again, a very, very critical part of, you know, we want to be able to bring in young blood and young talent. And she's a young lady that just got her, she's going for, I think, her dissertation for her doctorate, or she is a doctor. I can't remember now. But anyway, bottom line is that she is a very talented woman. And we are just excited as all get out to be able to have that young talent that's willing to tackle this. And so we need more of that, by the way.
Well, a lot of the researchers that are presenting are young.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this generation is on this. And, you know, it's really interesting because when I was growing up, the little boy next door had a Apollo capsule tent, and we played space, and we went to every Final Frontier, you know. And when he grew up, he writes for Star Trek Next Generation now, because that's all he wanted to do. He's a script writer. And that is somebody, you know, that's an example of this generation. My generation, old people, are still into it and about it. But they're leading. My daughter was in his screenwriting class. And she was like, "You know him?" I was like, "You should talk to him about Star Trek." Just saying. But he's also, also a Skywatcher, as are most people if they get the chance. And he's, you know, he's looking for craft.
Sure.
That's all he's interested in. But it's just so interesting that now the people that didn't grow up, you know, with the Final Frontier kind of thing feel that it's the final frontier or another frontier and worthy of research. It's so cool. And it's real research. It's scientific research.
By the way, I was going to tell you that Laura does have, she's completed her PhD in 2023 in physics. So again, I just want to let you know, point out that this is the kind of talent that we've got that we're bringing to this thing, and it's really incredible. We got talent to be able to now use machine language and artificial intelligence to support it.
Oh gosh, yes.
And that type of thing. And so when you have that, and then you have data that you can actually like look at, scientific data collected, collected, and everything else, it's going to just move us that much further down the road in terms of our understanding of this phenomena.
What discipline do you feel machine learning? To me, that's just amazing. That field is a little freaky, but so cool. Because, I mean, I grew up where, you know, inside the machine kind of thing, Florence. But it's so interesting to contemplate. I mean, I play with AI, but I just play with it. But, you know, I want to find out what it says. I'm just still testing it.
So this is where it's really incredible. Think about this for a second. You know, when UAPX is an organization that's now been rebranded. It was the original Kevin Day program, and then it went on. And anyway, bottom line, UAPX has now reinvented its University of Albany X, and so they're actually now going to be doing more research at University of Albany. So there's a college that's actually getting engaged with the topic, right? Much like you have Würzburg, Germany, with Hakan Kayal. So there's a number of universities that are coming online, and we're encouraging academia to actually get engaged with the topic, right? And they're starting to do that. But what I was trying to tell you is that, you know, imagine this: you've got like hundreds of cameras and various sensors and things like that. And they're running 24/7 around the clock, collecting all this wonderful data, lots of data, you know,
Yes.
and they're doing it for 5 days in a row, right? So now you want to go sift through that, all that wonderful data. Well, it would take, you know, a team years to probably go through all that wonderful data, right? You can teach the machine by using an algorithm to go through and look for the highlights that you want, and also to discriminate the objects that, you know, you don't want. So machine algorithms you add to it can help you go through, weed through all those thousands of hours worth of all these different devices, and then come back and say, well, this is what you want to look at. That's the power of the machine language and machine learning that we're talking about. And we need to have that. Yeah. So we need to have that. And then in addition to that, you know, if we ever get into truly quantum computing, we would know it in even shorter amount of time, the answers to it, and even a lot more. But, you know, so that's where it's going to be really beneficial to helping support analysis and research that we've got going on.
That's wicked cool.
Well, and then take a look at the fact that, you know, even what Stephen Brule is going to be talking about, remember those plates I told you with those transient little lights on it? Mm-hmm. So they have all these plates. Well, go out and sort out all the ones that are just these strange objects, a certain thing. And so now you use that for that. So it helps you to be able to pull that together and to do an analysis of all those little lights that you see all over this plate. And it can take out the dust particles. It can take out this. It can take out that. And it gives you the objects that you really want to get.
That's ridiculous. That's so cool.
I know. And that's the fun of this, you know, that technology
yes,
that's the technology that we have that's advanced to that point, Kat, that's going to help us to get through all this wonderful stuff and to be able to do something with it. And, you know, you want answers just as much as I do. And again, we want to have a better understanding of these things, of what they look like in all these different parts of this, like I said, the electromagnetic spectrum, but we want to know what their heat signatures are. We want to know if they have radiation on them. We want to know if they disturb the atmosphere when they move in the sky. And if it does disturb, what is it doing to the atmosphere? And how does it not break the sound barrier when it drops at 44,000 miles an hour? You know, how does it do those kinds of things? And we'll be able to actually get that with data from this technology that now is available to us. And that's what we want.
Well, that does it. I'm going back to school. So, well, I mean, seriously, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Trying at this point, you know, 64, stepping in and trying to get a handle on that.
I know.
But it's so amazing. There's so much to learn.
You're not too old to learn. And
you're never too oold to learn.
I always encourage people to keep learning and keep open and to do that. You know, I just am, you know, I'm always doing something like reading something or listening to something, educating, you know, as much education as I possibly can on these different topics. So it's really, really, it's fun for me.
Well, it is fun. And I've got another 4 months before my education is free. So I am going to be re-enrolled at UAB, but
good.
To learn all the things that I wish I had learned then.
Yeah.
So that I can understand the things I want to learn now.
Right.
But, you know, and it's such a big deal because, you know, and in all seriousness, I saw some things on the videos that they did drop because I love that stuff. And, you know, I am all about trying to find something that really is something as opposed to just, here's the shiny object, and meanwhile we're doing stuff over here. I want to see what is odd. And I got frustrated with all the little round balls of light. I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that got me in that first drop was the one that looked like a citadel.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, and I'm like, is there a spider web on a camera somewhere that's got this pattern to it? Or what is this? Because that was such an unusual, I've never seen anything like that at all with all the things in ufology that I've found in my research.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that, I was like, I've never even heard anyone describe this.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I've been doing this show for 5 years. I've done paranormal experience.
Right.
I'm fixing to hit 11. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. Mm-hmm. And I've never heard anything like that described.
Right. And so in my 62 years, I've never seen or read, I've got all these books and magazines and things like that going back to 1947. I got Fate magazine.
Right. Yeah.
I've been doing that, and I've been investigating thousands of cases and stuff like that.
Yes.
There's never anything that's like that. So, I mean, that's why it's like a one-off, and it's got to have a rational, logical explanation to it, that it's not a UFO as we know them, right?
Right.
So,
well, and it just bounced.
Yeah.
Like a balloon. I mean, the motion was not like a mechanical motion.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was. But that one kind of took me by surprise. I didn't anticipate that being a thing.
Yep.
But there were some that the ones that were flying around the windmills, I was like, that looks like Amsterdam. I mean, where is this? But,
right.
But it did look like something in the North Sea. And I guess they're around everywhere now. But it was so interesting to see the things that, there were too many of those that were dodging in between and stuff. And I've never seen that many. I've never seen a cluster of lights, So now I'm nosy about what that was. It looked like it was just interesting. But it's so sad that the documents aren't dropping with the videos, that it would be nice to have the reports that came with those.
Right, exactly.
And have them matched together.
Precisely.
And because I understand what you're saying about there's no metadata. There's no information other than that.
On some of the videos, you can barely see the object because they've got it all blacked out. There's a big
that's
block,
very annoying.
Block here, block there, and you see a little light moving through these big blocks. And it's like,
and that's where the metadata is, the altitudes and everything else.
Right.
And that's just ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
I don't see where that would be.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Lat and longe I can understand, but not height and,
right.
altitudes and such. But and temperatures and, it's very annoying. But they didn't ask me, darn it. So I would have been pushy.
We're certainly talking about it and trying to get them to at least work with us or work with academia and stuff like that to be able to actually look at the data, and we can maybe help them to be able to sort through this, because we've had way more experience that they have. And
you probably got higher clearances, a lot of you.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, if we can make that happen, that would be good.
What are the odds, do you think?
Well, I think it's pretty good actually now, because we're talking about what they actually we're looking into building what they call a CRADA. A CRADA is a cooperative research and development agreement that you have with the military and, let's say, a university or a group of scientists. Okay. And so we're looking at establishing a CRADA, and they're being a little bit receptive to that. And we're hoping that will continue, and we can do that where we can now talk more between each other and help them out in terms of just the sheer volume of things that they're getting. And then in addition to that, we learn, they learn. It's a great relationship. The University of Alabama Huntsville has a good CRADA with the Defense Department, and so they pass over all kinds of things between the two organizations here, and it's good. So we're hopeful that we can get this thing called a CRADA through as well.
Wow, that would be so handy.
Sure would.
For both, for both groups.
Yep, exactly.
Because obviously, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to tell you, have you heard about the fact that I guess Avi Loeb and a number of people are going to be now forming a UAP council, scientific council? I don't know if you heard that or not, but there's.
I haven't.
It's been in the news here the last several days anyway, and stuff like that. That apparently now there's this the possibility of some sort of a UFO scientific council, and they've mentioned a number of scientists that are going to be supporting that. I think that they were a little bit premature in making the announcement, by the way, and they're kind of not talking about it too much now. But anyway, the idea was that it would be that they would have access to, these scientists would have access to the ODNI information as well as ARRO's information. And so there's Dr. Matthew Shadegas, I think he was listed as being on that council. You have Tim Gallaudet as part of that council.
That's a good member.
I'm sorry?
That would be a good member.
Yeah, and so you have him, and he would be on helping with the USO aspects. But
yes,
again, it's just to be able to help the government get educated, and also having some of our top scientists, if you would, in the field that have got experience with this to help them out and to do a better job of getting information. So we're trying
maybe understanding what they're getting.
Yeah. You have to understand that the government, I don't know how to put it, most of the, while everybody believes that there's a secret government, and if you watch the movie that's Disclosure Day, there's this contractor that is out there running the whole thing and everything else, and the government is ignorant of the contractor and all it's doing and everything else, and so consequently, you've got this just ignorance about the entire, what are we doing with it? Well, we don't even know. The government's so big, the military's so big, we have no idea who's on first, who's on second, and we can't get in.
I don't know who's on third. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know who's on third. So you have that whole thing going on. Well, part of it is the fact that much of what we've been trying to do is educate the politicians who are wanting to go after this, and get them up to speed, letting them know what's going on, and then hopefully they're getting the message out with their other politicians and stuff like that to be able to help us, to make progress with this. But there are so many, as you very well know, that there are so many distractions in the world right now. That
serious ones. I mean,
so UFOs or UAP are down here at the bottom of the list of things that we need to be worried about, right? So it doesn't get much traction that way. And of course, we would like to see it more traction and more visible. But again, things like the Strait of Hormuz and the world stuff that's going on right now, and the economy and everything else, it's way more important, and politicians are focused on that.
Let's see, I can't hear you all of a sudden. Bear with me just a sec. I lost my connection on this. Give me a second. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I can hear you if you want to keep talking. I just can't hear you appropriately, and other people will hear.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So, I mean, again, it's just it's an important thing that we do educate our government and everything else in the topic, and help us to get answers. And so that's where we're trying to go.
Well, I think it's really exciting because when we first met and we were talking about these things, right, many moons ago, you really helped educate me on this. And I absolutely love that happened that way. And to the point that you got me to where it's like, why don't you join us? Which was like my thrill of my career here. I mean, I loved it, and it's just so much fun. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that. But and I'm really proud of that too, just so you know. But I think it's such an important thing for people to know that this group is out here doing all these things and moving forward. And now you're doing more than as far as I'm aware, you're doing more than has ever been done on this topic. I'm right?
Yeah, we're writing scientific papers like nothing, like tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, I bet you are right now.
And we're holding meetings and we're researching all kinds of topics and stuff like that. And so, we're finally getting that traction. When the Condon report came out, it basically just shut down all scientific study. And it wasn't until 2017 when you started to see the fact that there was some credible organization that was doing this, and it opened the doors for a lot of universities and people in universities who were in the closet before to now come out and say that I'm going to do this, and so we're now regaining that. We're coming out of the dark edges is what we're doing, and so we're coming out of the dark ages, and now we can talk about it openly. We can discuss it. We don't have to hide. We're able to engage other scientists. They're listening now, and they're willing to explore it. And so all the doors are opening up right now. And now with politicians talking about it, again, it's to another level where, wait a minute, there's going to be potential funding you can get for this type of thing. Yes, you can. And there's more universities coming online that are doing it now. So, if we can continue that pattern, we're going to be able to make much better progress. And these scientific papers that we're writing are just mind-boggling with the information that they're coming out with. And we publish those out up on our website. The ones we do,
yes.
We're making them completely transparent, and anybody can go up and read them. And we want that, and we're getting things in journals now, which we couldn't do before. And so, it's just amazing. It's a great time for me, after 62 years of being in this phenomena, to actually now see this happening, and to know that back in the early days when I was talking with J. Allen Hynek in Dayton, Ohio, that, he would have loved having
no doubt
what we're doing now. I mean, he wanted that. And it was just trying to push to get scientists to engage in this and treat it seriously was a challenge for him at that time. My God, he'd be rolling over in his grave with excitement now, knowing the fact that we've got this stuff going on. And so I feel that I've helped to try to encourage that by my role over the 62 years.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see all that coming to fruition. And so it's very validating, and I feel very, very happy to be where I'm at right now.
Well, I think it's very exciting. I don't even know how you're sitting still. I really don't, because
you can't see my legs.
That would be great. It's just so interesting. I mean, that's funny. I love that. It really is. But, it is that exciting. It is a real deal, big time thing. And when I sit there and I look at people and I'm like, why aren't you snoopy dancing? Why don't you know what's being reported? Why don't you know what's happening here? And people are like, oh, well, I really don't have time. It's like, you have to have time. This is a big, hairy deal. And, and we may not like the limitations on what's released, right? But by jingo, people are releasing stuff. And that's astounding.
Yeah.
I find that to be astounding because I'm so used to, Stanton Friedman was a dear friend of mine. And he would harumph every time that we would talk about some of this stuff. And, it would be like, well, we're trying to get this released. We're trying to get this out. He participated in that citizens hearing with a lot of other people that was just done in DC, and it caught not enough attention. There, citizens hearing on disclosure, and that there were some names involved with that. Were you part of that?
No, I wasn't. Huh?
But to me, it was just kind of a they were credible. He was a physicist. I mean, there were Chris. All these people were part of that.
Yeah.
Dolan, there were a lot of people involved, a lot of MUFON people, a lot of credible witnesses, and it never gained traction.
Right.
And when I was watching the first hearing with the pilots, and I was just like, listen to them. This was a transmedium vessel that was a vehicle that was out maneuvering our best pilots.
Yes.
These are our best pilots.
Yeah.
And if that's another nation doing this, we've got other problems. You need to listen to them.
Yeah. Right.
And I didn't feel like it got, whether it was, outer space or not, it didn't get the respect that it deserved. Although Nancy Mace will always be my favorite just because of her face when she don't ask a question you don't know the answer to, right?
Right.
Are there, remains? Yes. Are they human remains? No. Biologics. Are they human biologics? No. Don't ask if you don't know, because that face was priceless. And that alone should have gotten a lot more, interest than it did. And I don't understand why the public hasn't been screaming louder. I don't hear a roar where we are now, to an extent.
Yeah, there isn't. And again, I go back to, I know so many people that are just dealing with life on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
That really could care less about UFOs or UAP because they're not a part of their life. And so what good does it for me? What does it do for me? I don't see them every day. I'm dealing with trying to pay for my farm. I'm trying to be able to do this. I'm trying to make a living. And, the interest and just even focusing on this topic is kind of like, well, it's usually going to be someone who saw a UFO because they have an interest in it or had an experience, like an experiencer, that wants to know more, and they're attuned to that. And
yes.
but but there's so much of the public that just doesn't really care at all, and they don't read a book on it. They might have a little bit of slight interest, or they see it on the news and they say, well, okay, that's great. I didn't have an interest in it when I first heard it either. And it wasn't until I learned that there was a project up the road for me in Dayton, Ohio called Project Blue Book that was studying that now got me interested in it. But I was told to do a report on it, and I bombed it and got a D, and so, I mean.
Did you really get a D?
I got a D on my report. Yeah. I mean, I just almost flunked it, I mean, but so. And look at me. It's like I'm 62 years later, I'm still in it, but
immersed, as it were.
And by the way, I went back, and I don't know if I told you this story, but I went back and actually presented to the teacher's class years later. And he was grateful for the fact that I came back. Of course, I was all over the news and everything else in the city of Dayton, being a ufologist and stuff like that, and on TV and radio shows. And anyway, I came back and delivered a presentation to his class. I said, "Now, can I change my D? I mean, did I do any better?" He said, "Well, it's too late for that."
I think I heard that.
But you got an A+ on this one. Anyway, that's what happened. It's a fun thing, And anyway, some people have fun with it, some people don't. Some people just don't care, and we just need to get more people that do care to really focus in on and see what we can learn. And that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And the people, like I said, the people in Europe who are getting involved with SCU, it's such, I mean, it really is global.
It is.
Y'all have taken this and just run wide open with it.
Yep.
And
I
love that.
Yeah. The challenges we have sometimes are the fact that we have language challenges and stuff like that. And of course, now there's tools to be able to do translations and stuff like that. So that's also beneficial. In fact, AI is now going to be helping to do some of the translations and stuff like that, and so we'll be able to get smarter, better, and start talking to people all over the planet, and they'll be able to understand us, and we can start talking about those objects. But until we've had that, we've not been able to engage very well or very effectively. And I think that's going to change now.
Well, I think it already is.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's, yes, I think it's fun. I'm sorry. I'm thrilled. I am thrilled with where this field is right now, because there's, it's catching everybody's ear. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound weird. And, the whole drone situation that we had earlier, that got people looking up.
Yeah.
And I think it got people's minds opened a little bit, because the possibilities of what that could be were going from yin to yang with the theories, right? And it was so funny, because people that would never have approached the UFO topic were like, well, they're drones the size of a car? What? And and then there are reports in England of underwater vehicles coming through the channel and stuff like that. There are, I think, 3 of those that I heard. And I'm like, well, you've heard of USOs, right? They don't just fly. But it was interesting that people were like, oh my goodness. And I felt bad, because people were tripping out, and I have always said that Orson Welles, War of the Worlds was a test balloon back in the day, and humanity failed that. And that, I feel, is why they're so afraid of the topic going public, or have been so afraid of the topic going public, because of the reaction that they got just to a radio program about that happening in Henry, in a small environment, right?
Right.
And so I think that when people didn't trip out about the drones, I feel like that might have been a second try. And I mean, it's an out there possibility, but after that, we've started having like open gates almost. And outside of this conference, everything else that I've contact, and UFO Congress is not doing it anymore, but when I've been there, other conferences have had a strong woo aspect. And I say woo, but an unscientific approach. There are some scientists that go, but primarily it's experiencer based.
Right.
And
right.
The thing about SCU is that it's not so much experiencer based. We're looking for the science. We want that side. Yeah. And they are tied together, but the experiencer needs to be supported by science.
Right.
Because otherwise, I've seen them be patted on the head and, oh, that's nice. Thank you for, stopping by. So this needs to happen for the experiencers as well as just getting answers, I feel.
Precisely. And so, I look at this way. I was the state director for MUFON for years. I actually had Alabama and I had Mississippi. I was also a state section director in Ohio and Dayton, Ohio, and stuff like that. Looking at all the reports and going out and talking to witnesses and stuff they're all looking for some sort of validation of the fact that they're not nuts and they actually saw something, right? They're looking for validation. And so, if we, and then, with the whole experiencer thing like that, you have a situation where you keep looking at the experiencer and saying, well, can you bring me something off of the craft? Can you bring me something, I can look at and actually study, and nobody comes back with anything. Or if there's nothing that it's just a story, and maybe I've got a couple marks on my body, but I can't deduce what the marks are, how is that going to help us to be able to do anything in terms of our understanding of these events, right? Exactly. And so science can get its arms around maybe the vehicle aspect of it, because we can look at that, we can measure that in the sky, it's being repeatedly seen. Not as much maybe as us seeing the beings, but nevertheless, that we can see the craft, right? So if we, can validate the fact that there is a legitimate experience going on, with there's real objects up there, then that does nothing more than just help validate maybe what the experiencer base is having. And then we have to figure out, how do we get the experiencer base measured and studied and scientifically? And there's so many people that I had cases reported to me that were coming in and saying, well, I got this lump on my arm and stuff like that, and I think that I was abducted. And the thing would be the size of a golf ball. Well, if you know anything about the implants that allegedly the people were saying, it wouldn't be visible, right? It'd have to be seen. It wouldn't be a size of a golf. So, no, it would be. And then you go to the medical community and you say, well, can you study this and find out whether it legitimately is this? And they're going to say, well, yeah, give me your insurance. Well, who's got the money to be able to pay for you looking at that golf ball size thing in the arm to actually do that, right? And do they know how to go after that? And so you get what I'm saying? It's like, it's a hodgepodge, and and maybe you want to get that looked at because it's medically a problem and you may have cancer. Or
I know,
like
right?
And so again, you just don't know how to approach it that's going to be helpful scientifically to measure and to look at it, and to get doctors that are trained in, well, psychology or the medical fields and stuff like that, willing to do this, right? And and there's until you get that figured out, you're going to struggle with it, that the experiencer aspect, because you just don't know how to go after it. And
well, yes.
that's our biggest challenge.
And they do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a man, he wrote a book.
Yep.
He was the consul for, I think he was in the Philippines. He was out of Chicago in the military when he had his experience, and he found that he was a runner. So afterwards, when he would run, he would have problems, got checked out, had metal in his leg. And I saw the pattern. I mean, the man was absolutely an impeccable witness. And so then at a different place, someone else in that room had an x-ray from after their experience. And it was the same pattern and same shape of objects that were in them. And so I didn't say anything at the time because I wasn't supposed to be in that group because I was media, but I had been invited in by the facilitator as an observer because, there's a reason I didn't let my daughter hang that phone up when I was seeing that, right?
Yeah.
Because I did not want to be a statistic and somebody think I was a fruit. And, so I was able to say, I've seen this before, and here's the book you can find it in, and go talk to this person. And so the gentleman's name is Terry Lovelace, and I just said that, and I'm like, oh, I hope I've got his last name right, but I do. But it was just such an interesting thing to see that. And so now, how are you going to go and get them the support that they need? Because now you have two people, completely separate walks of life, completely different areas of the globe, who are walking around with the same experience and implant of some type. And, we have to find ways to document that. We have to find, I'm with you on that, and are you working with the medical community?
I'm not, but we do have, because we're so broad, because we have like over 400 scientists. We got everybody from medical doctors to psychologists to you name it, and I'm sure that they're engaging. And I'm personally not, but I'm hoping that they are. And I mean, we've been encouraging that as much as we can. So, I don't know if I'm going to be presenting now to the Colorado MUFON in March.
With Katie Page?
I'm sorry?
With Katie Page? Was Katie Page still with Colorado?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I've been talking with a lady named Erin who wrote me and asked me and invited me. So Erin is going to have me coming out there, and I'll be presenting in March of next year to that group. I've actually presented to the North Dakota chapter, the Oregon chapter. I went to Phoenix, Arizona, spoke with them. And I've had, I think, one other group that I've been actually engaging with. So I don't know if you heard or not, but David McDonald died from MUFON. And of course, they don't know what the status of MUFON is going to be now. I haven't heard if they've got somebody that's going to be filling in for him or whatever. But anyway, I've been a lifetime member of MUFON. I'm a lifetime member, a benefactor, and so I still support the organization, and I do the best I can in terms of helping them as and continuing. John Price, who is the state director for Alabama, and I have met. We've come out and we've talked with each other, and he attended a presentation that I did and stuff like that. So we're trying to keep connected, even now the fact that we're SCU, we're trying to engage other organizations. We're connecting with SUAPS, which is the Society for UAP Studies. We're engaging them. I'm working with the Human Institute in terms of these technology summits that they're holding and doing. I haven't really. I actually went up on the Hill and met with Danny Sheehan and Lou Elizondo, and I think that Ross Coulthart was there, and we had a number of other people that were there. Richard Dolan was there and his wife, and we had a meeting about UFOs and UAPs and what can we do to help get legislation, through. And so I support them as much as I can, and when I'm asked. And so, again, we're trying to reach out and explore these other organizations. We actually present at Seoul. That's the another organization. So we're trying to keep this thing moving, and a lot of organizations are also trying to do that.
Well, it's exciting that the cooperation is there, because I don't feel like it always has been. And I feel like the old, times they are a-changing kind of a thing is real now. I mean, it's so cool. And I mean, obviously with your history with MUFON, you would, but that's one of the things that I love about this organization is all of y'all's background that takes you into other realms that, mutual interests and trying to find answers on different things that all relate. And I just think that, I don't know, I just think it's awesome. Have I mentioned I like SCU? Maybe a little bit. So I do.
Well, we do appreciate it, Kat, and I appreciate you big time. And it has been fun to watch the education of Kat happen over the years. I like to see her light bulb going off and saying, "Oh, well, wait a minute, I didn't think about that. I didn't know about that." And
I know, and you're such a good teacher.
Well, thank you. So, I was a teacher, by the way.
And you still are.
I still am.
You're still very good at this.
Exactly.
Well, I did have good friends who have helped me through this topic over the years. And I have been, before I started doing Fate, I do another show, Paranormal Experienced, as well. And I've always covered everything anomalous, and because it interests me. And I figured if it interests me, it'll interest my listeners. So right now, my daughter-in-law is undergoing cancer treatment, so I can't do my Wednesday shows because I'm the support person taking care of children. And it's tough to do that show with the 5-month-old in the background. But but she's doing well with her treatments, so it's pretty good. But I have guest hosts right now, and so it's all ghosts and paranormal, not just my idea of paranormal is anything anomalous, and there's this kind of
there's a lot we just don't understand. There is the paranormal exists. I mean, it
does. I mean, I've experienced it.
There are things out there we just don't understand yet, and I guess it's just being open to the fact that we ought to look into some of these things and actually take an interest in it, and to be open-minded enough to be able to willing to say, I'm just like you. I'm interested in this. Okay, well, follow your passion and follow that interest to see where it takes you. And that's kind of like what I did. I became, passionate about the subject of UFOs, and I just followed that UFO thing as long as I have, and to see where it would take me. What's it going to do? And so we grow from that, and we learn from that, and we can share what we learn with others, and that's what ought to be happening every day for all the people in the world. We're all getting educated on something, right? So anyway, sorry, I'm on a bully pulpit there.
I never feel bad for asking questions, because I was really and truly taught that there are no stupid ones.
There are none.
And so if I don't understand something, I need to, because my job when I host somebody is to get their information where people can understand it. Right. And if I'm having a hard time getting something, then somebody else may be too. And that's why I've mentioned Stanton. Stanton treated me just like I already knew everything. And so I had homework to do after every conversation. So I had to figure out what we had been talking about. So it was just like, not always, but a lot of times. But, and he just brought me along, right? So then, we became friends, and you are such a good teacher. I've said that already tonight, but I just can't say it enough, because you do give me those aha moments if there's something that's puzzling. And if I'm having those aha moments, so are my listeners. And it's really cool, because you've been involved with this since God was a child, and you've got so much knowledge to share. And, the organization, it's so involved from the physics and the aerodynamics and how is this working and what are we doing, and you hold my feet to the fire if I'm like with the comet, right? Well, there is nothing here. This is a comet. And I'm like, Ivy says it's not a comet. So I was just like, I don't know what to say. I respect everybody here. But because I look at it through different filters than you do. And you were right. So it was a lot of fun. And whereas I will go off the rails a little bit to that side, you always rein me back in. And the conversation gets right back on task. And you're like, we need documentation before we say this. And I'm like, but this is so interesting. It's not proven. And people need that.
Yeah, they do.
Because how many times have you seen people on this topic go down the garden path?
Yeah.
And we need answers. We need solid, researched answers. And that's what you're doing. And it's such a big deal.
Yeah, I watched your eyes light up when I told you the fact that comets and things like that are moving along create radio signals, and you can pick that up. Yeah, you were like, what? I didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of stuff that we were talking about relevant to that, to the comet, that I was like, get out of town. I think I said get out of town about the radio signals, but but it was just like, there's so much to this. And I'm so blessed to be able to do my shows, because that is where I get educated. And now I can ask better questions. I can understand the answers better. I can present it to my listeners or people that come up to me after the shows to talk if I go to a conference somewhere. I mean, because I go to paranormal conferences as well as SCU, which is, I got to take my favorite. But and I've been to other UFO conferences that are more on the woo side, big ones. I mean, big and small. The smallest one was in Scotland, but it was awesome. But, it's just so interesting because you make me treat those different. You don't make me. The knowledge that you have given me makes me treat those differently because I look for different things now.
Good.
I will always participate with the experiencer groups because those people are really affected, and they are not necessarily part of the equation with what SCU is trying to do. Although, we talked about that y'all are looking at that too, but it's really hard to take that down a science path, I feel.
It is. It's more of a. It's much more difficult and much more complex because there are there's so many things that we don't. Like we talk about consciousness, we don't even understand what that is. And so you always see people saying, "Well, UFOs are about consciousness." Well, you're taking one unknown and you're comparing it against another unknown, and that's not what you do in science. You don't take an unknown and
we have to find the construct behind that unknown.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and the human is just an incredibly complex thing to understand. You have beliefs and things and experiences that are different from me, that are different from somebody else, that are different from somebody. And so if we talk about our beliefs and what we think, then we could go down any kind of path, and we could go, for days. And and a lot of us are storytellers. And so storytelling has been a great tradition, but, where do you go with that from a science standpoint? And then you're struggling because storytelling is not going to get you further down. Especially if everybody's got their own unique story and different story, right? And so,
everybody does.
How do you determine something? Whether it's real or not, or whether it has certain attributes. And the fact that you have people that are telling stories is important because you find out that they're having these experiences around the globe, right? That's good.
People, yes.
So now what you do is you apply observation and science to that to be able to help now get an understanding of why is it that people around the globe are having those experiences, and what are they doing, and what are they seeing? And they all say, well, I saw a disc-shaped object, or I saw a sphere, or I saw this, I saw a purple cloud, and this thing came out of it, and stuff like that. And so you're trying to look at those things and realizing that, I remember doing an investigation on a case where I had 30 people drawing a picture of what they saw, and they all drew something different. And I'm going well, which one of these is the real object? Well, to them, it was all real. I mean, what they drew was real. So now you have 30 different drawings of what people saw, and you're going okay, so somewhere in the middle, maybe there's some grain of understanding that we can get from it. The fact that it had a red light here, or it had a white light there, or something of that nature. But 30 people, it's really, and maybe not, and everybody's not an artist either. But that's what we had to deal with back in the day. It was just crude drawings that people could do, and but you're trying to get an understanding of the phenomena, and you just can't do it from 30 different viewpoints, I guess, if you would. I'll always point this out, the fact that my wife has better hearing than I do. And so guess what? She can hear things and I can't hear them. Some people have better vision than others, and some people have a better memory, than others, and then, so you take all that human variation thing into account when you're doing this investigation of this phenomena. And that's where it becomes challenging, because if I had maybe if everybody had the same kind of camera, we might be able to see the same kind of information, but we don't, and so anyway, You know what I'm getting at, Kat. So it's very important. It's very important that we get that stuff, a better understanding from a multi-sensory kind of like experience, like many sensors that are looking at it and looking at different ways and different parts and listening to it. You know, I always point out the fact that, you know, that the objects are always reported silently. You know, they're moved silently away. I didn't hear a sound. Okay, well, not every case, but I mean, a good number of them are all, I didn't hear any sound.
Yeah.
And I always point out the fact, well, it's maybe making sounds, but it's above the human hearing level, or it's below that, and we just can't hear it, right? So how about if we get equipment that can listen to it below human hearing and above human hearing and find out if it's really making sounds or not, right? So again, you're applying science to this thing to be able to get better answers.
Well, I said it earlier. I will always say it. I would never bet against you. Because finding ways to do things is what science is about. Sure. So, you know, I am just so, I don't know. I think this has been one of our best conversations. I have loved this. And I'm so blown away because I always learn. But I do agree that it has to match. You have to find a way to find the core. There's a core there that's not coming through in the witness statements, conversations, if they're having the same experience, but you have to find out how. You know, right. I mean, it's just part of it, but we are about out of time. I can't believe we're about out of time. It was me going on that rambling way to get around to my point. Sorry about that. But
no problem.
You know, I just think that I'm so glad that we met and that we're friends, because I've learned so much. And you give me a lot of aha moments, and thank you for that.
You're welcome. You can imagine how many aha moments that I've had.
Well, they're good though. They help you cross that line.
It does.
You know, for everybody listening, for everybody in chat, thank you so much, because, you know, y'all are the reason that we do these shows. And Rich's information to me is so important. I mean, check out Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies. Yep. It's based out of Huntsville, but it's a global organization. And Rich has been involved with it from the get-go. He's an original. And you can check him out online too. Grab him on Facebook. He's a good guy to talk to, and he has a lot of information. The SCU also has a Facebook page. And their conference is in Toronto next month. So
go to explorescu.org.
Yes.
Go to explorescu.org. And
I actually wrote that down to say that. So sorry.
And register and, you know, get up there and attend to it.
You can do it virtually.
You can do it virtually. It's like maybe $75, and you can watch this thing up to 3 months, as many times as you want, each presentation. And all of our other conferences are all up on YouTube, where we put all the presenters up there, and you can go watch us there on YouTube. So,
and you want to.
Thanks, Kat.
And you want to. They're good presentations. And so thank you, my friend, for being here. I appreciate you so much. And for everyone listening, I appreciate y'all too. Be sure and come back next week. We always have a good show, and I will be posting it. So, and thank you, Always in Timeout. I love that. I love that name, because I've lived that. But anyway, thank you so much. See you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. And y'all be blessed. Good night.